is what we are. Hey, Kayleigh, how are you?
Hey Tom, I'm good. How are you?
Doing so well. We are back, and we are on our third episode is where we are. God,
Yep.
I cannot believe it already. So if you don't mind, we have someone special with us today too. A really special guest that I'm excited for, and you might be too, Kayleigh. I don't know, but she does so much work around the entire valley, especially with the arts. And that is the one and only Mikhalo. Is also with a very special guest, and that is her daughter, who is in the show. I think, which is really neat. And that would be the wonderful Magnolia. Love that name, Magnolia. So let's bring them on in, shall we?
Yeah.
Hey, Nicole, how are you? Hi, how are you? Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I'm sorry you were muted there, is what you were.
It's all right. Hello. Happy holidays.
And who do you have there with you?
Oh, I have my sweet pea, Miss Magnolia. Can you say hello?
Hi.
Hi.
This is so wonderful. And she, of course, plays the pivotal role of Tiny Tim, which is so great. So, Nicole, I know both Kayleigh and I know you. How do you know us? How does this all work out?
Oh, I know, it's amazing. I love how through life and everything, we've found ways to continue to connect and be together, right, Tommy?
Exactly.
So in short, everybody out there, a little quiz later. So Tom and I, and always correct me if I am mistaken. So Tom and I grew up in Shelton together, but I am a few years older, correct, Tom, in that?
Yeah, you are, yeah, you definitely are.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Definitely. Maybe a decade. Maybe a decade.
No, it's not a decade.
No, not.
At the same time, but yeah.
Yeah, no, and we did Youth Connection together, right? And we always connected and like hit it off.
Mm-hmm.
And we have that Italian blood as well. That's strong, yeah. And then we stayed connected through that. And then you went to school. We were in New York at the same time as well. We crossed over during that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had actually moved back to Connecticut in 2011.
Wow.
Still commuting.
Yeah.
Still commuting, but back in CT in 2011. And then 2014? When was your vision created?
2013. So I reached out to you in like January of 2013, seeing like all the work that you had been doing in the Valley with events and saying, hey, I've always had this idea and this dream of free Shakespeare in the park. I was turning 30. This is what I wanted to do. And you were like, baby, good luck. No, you were such a big help. I can't even tell you.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Which was really, really amazing. So I'm so excited we finally got to work together in like an acting capacity plus an events capacity too.
Well, yeah. And then, and I think like, and you and I have talked about this, like the Valley, is so rich in culture and in community that having our past kind of meet our present and our future, if you will. Ironically, with that Christmas Carol. Yeah. Woo. I think, we kind of ran with it and found ways to complement each other and each other's organizations. Yeah, and it's a really nice, and I'm super happy about it. I love how I could text you so randomly. Like,
I know.
You're out there listening, like there will be 4 months of silence, but then I'll be like, hey, I need this.
I'll do the same thing too, yeah, which is great. So one big thing is, can you talk a little bit about, the work that you have been doing too, right? Yeah. I think I would love to hear about that. Like what have you been working on, as well? I wear many different hats. I'll say briefly that Kayleigh and I also hit it off through the Valley Chamber. We could thank for that. And in many capacities as well, where she's been an artisan with Needed Felted Fuzzies, side business. She's been so incredibly helpful within her role at
RD Cinto, connecting us and working with Celebrate there. And yeah, so I mean, this year, so for anyone who doesn't know, Celebrate Shelton is a private citywide initiative. We are not a nonprofit. We essentially are, a community-driven organization that focuses on highlighting small businesses, supporting local, being local, and highlighting artists, musicians, and just our community that surrounds us. I'm also the owner of Bring the Hoopla, which is an educational fitness company that provides high quality programming for children, pretty much grades pre-K through 8, where we use our handmade hoops as the main tool. We focus on physical literacy, teamwork, leadership, really focus on the themes of healthy minds, healthy bodies. Obviously, it's all looked a lot different this year. In both ways, we pivoted really hard. We have a strong team that surrounds me. So Michael and Jimmy with Celebrate. And then I have an amazing team with Bring the Hoopla, with Sarah, Murphy, Marissa, Tatiana, Alex, Laura, a really great staff. Celebrate was quiet this year. This summer, Tom, I know that we discussed, we did do a one-night virtual event, and it was really successful, but it was 100% a learning process.
Yeah.
For all of us.
Yeah, same.
Right?
Yep.
Right?
Same on our side.
We had never, I was terrified. Numbers were good. We were inside Center Stage Theater. There was no audience. We took all the precautions, had all the PPE, went above and beyond protocol. And it was an experience, but, I think for the same reason why we love live theater, if I may say, is, the thrill is gone. Without, you feed off the energy, perform
that audience,
musicians. So it was incredible. I learned so much. Both you and I worked also with MK Devo. He was, what's a good title for him? A producer of for us, he was more of a producer where we all together. But yeah, it was an incredible experience. And then we just wrapped up the year. We did do an in-person community tree lighting, which again,
I heard it was fantastic.
Yeah, and I texted you the next day.
Doing a live performance. So we did live performance too over the summer. And I think Kayleigh can also talk to this too, but how hard it was because we rehearsed for a whole week with actresses and actors too. But, it was great being on there. But, when we did something online, we're so grateful that we have people who interact with us online as we have during our chat. Like, hi, Diane. We have hi, Tish, who's here, which is really great. We have some wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people that come in and support. So I totally understand. But we were able to do one performance where we actually live streamed it right from the park.
Yeah.
And he helped us out so much. And it brought us more people, I think, is what it did, which was really wonderful.
Well, yeah, he totally maximizes any audience that, and through so many different channels. And plus his production and videography skills, as you and I discussed, is
out of control.
Unbelievable. Yeah. So that's where we are. As far as Bring the Hoopla, we pivoted very strongly over to virtual programming through many districts. You and I have chatted about that and shifting. And, the only thing I can hope is, we'll be able to safely gather again at some point.
In the summer, one could only...
But, really, in the meantime, continuing to do the work that we do, believing in the work that we do, and working hard to make our audiences and our community understand how important it is to continue to support.
And how important, the arts are, and how important, and also making our audiences feel safe too, which is really great.
Yeah, absolutely. That's huge.
So speaking of a pivot, we pivoted hard with our annual Christmas Carol that we do for free. And we decided instead, Kayleigh and I kind of came up with this idea to involve the entire community and record it, kind of like in the 1940s when you'd listen on the radio to something like this. So I was wondering, Nicole, what was it like? And also Kayleigh, how has it been putting this all together, is my question, from there. So what was it like having to record? And I know I texted you last minute, too, which was great. So yeah.
I mean, for me, first of all, my what feels like a past life of, devoting my entire life to theater and music theater, to be able to come back to that. I haven't been, in a rehearsal format, if you will. And I know that we just did a read through. It was like, I was like beaming for the rest of the day. It was so wonderful to be directed by you and to see, honestly, to like feel your positivity with all the community leaders like that were in that Zoom, and for you to like, I really actually was like soaking it up. Like I was actually asking a lot of questions last week when we were in, because it felt so good to be directed and to understand the scene and the framework, and like the experience was fantastic.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And I totally agree. I mean, I never performed that much, but I did drama in high school. I did a couple of small things, and it's part of my life that I enjoyed and I miss. So it was really fun, even though it was mostly just, like 2 words here and there. It was still fun to sit in the group setting and really have that interaction. So
everybody, yeah.
Well, like Tom, like Gary Scarpa said once, I mean, what is it? There are no small roles.
No small roles.
Yeah.
That's really it. Speaking of, if I may, you're playing Mrs. Cratchit, but you have somebody next to you that is playing a really, really big role. Can I ask Magnolia, what was it like to act with all the big people? If you could you tell us that?
What was your experience?
Yeah.
It was fun, and it was really nice to be in like a
show?
In like a show.
Yeah, it was a show.
It was fun to be directed by someone really good.
Yeah, he thought you were awesome.
You were awesome.
Energy, yeah.
Is what it is. Well, that's so wonderful. Now, tonight we have a really, really, really exciting. I love this part of A Christmas Carol. This is the part, of course. Magnolia is the best. You're getting some fan mail out there, Magnolia, more than I am. So I don't know. You have your grandmother. It looks like you also have Mr. Skurek. You have a lot there, but tonight is a really exciting part because this is my favorite part. It is the Ghost of Christmas Present comes in. Who's played by who, Kayleigh?
Yeah, the Ghost of Christmas Present is Eugene Driscoll from Valley Independent Central.
So helpful, right? And he plays the Ghost of Christmas Present. He comes to visit Scrooge, and he takes Scrooge to Bob Cratchit's house. Bob Cratchit is the clerk to Scrooge. And while he's there, we get to meet Mrs. Cratchit, played, of course, by Nicole, and his family, Tiny Tim, played by Magnolia. And we get to see kind of how they're this small family, but yet they make everything happen together, even though they go through a lot of troubles and they don't have a lot of money. I think it's such a beautiful thing, and especially this time of year, and especially this year in 2020 when a lot of families don't have a lot this year too, which is really beautiful. The other part too, as well, as we get to go to see Fred's, his nephew Fred. He comes back in, played by
Kennedy,
and of course Fred's Fred's played by Emily Carveth, which is pretty neat. So yeah, we have a lot of people kind of involved, and we get to really learn about how people talk about Scrooge right now, which is really exciting. So is everybody ready for the premiere of part 3? All right, let's see if I could work my magic again and get us on. All right, give me a quick moment. I'm going to add this to my stream. I'm going to do this. I'm gonna do this, and you all out there in the land, tell me if you could hear it. Scrooge awoke in his bedroom. There was no doubt about that. But it and his own adjoining sitting room, into which he shuffled in his slippers, attracted by a great light there, had undergone a surprising transformation. The walls and ceiling were so hung with living green that it looked a perfect grove. The crisp leaves of holly, mistletoe, and ivy reflected back the light, and such a mighty blaze went roaring up the chimney. Heaped upon the floor to form a kind of throne were turkeys, geese, game, poultry, brawn, great joints of meat, suckling pigs, long wreaths of sausages, mince pies, plum puddings, barrels of oysters, red-hot chestnuts, cherry-cheeked apples, juicy oranges, luscious pears, immense 12 cakes, and seething bowls of punch. In easy state upon his couch there sat a jolly giant, glorious to see, who bore a glowing torch, and held it up, high up, to shed its light on Scrooge, as he came peeping round the corner.
Come in and know me better, man. I am the ghost of Christmas present. Look upon me. Have you never seen the likes of me before?
Never.
Have never walked forth with the younger members of my family, meeting my elder brothers born in these late years?
I don't think I have.
Okay, we're looking at what's going on. I know it's muted for me. Can anybody else hear it? Technology's tricky.
Cratchit, second of her daughters, while Master Peter Cratchit plunged a fork into the saucepan of potatoes. And now 2 smaller Cratchits, boy and girl, came tearing in, screaming that outside the baker's they had smelled the goose and known it for their own.
Oh, whatever has gotten your precious father then? And your brother, Tiny Tim?
There's father coming, cried the 2 young Cratchits, who were everywhere at once. In came Bob the father, his threadbare clothes darned up and brushed to look seasonable, and Tiny Tim upon his shoulder. Alas for Tiny Tim! He bore a little crutch and his limbs supported by an iron frame. The 2 young Cratchits hustled Tiny Tim and bore him off to the wash-house, that he might hear the pudding singing in the copper.
And how did little Tim behave?
As good as gold, and better. Somehow he gets thoughtful sitting by himself so much and thinks the strangest things you'd ever heard. He told me coming home that he'd hope people saw him in the church because he was a cripple, and it might be pleasant for them to remember on Christmas Day who made lame beggars walk and blind men see. Tiny Tim is growing strong and hearty.
His active little crutch was heard upon the floor, and back came Tiny Tim. Before another word was spoken, escorted by his brother and sister to his stool beside the fire, while Bob compounded some hot mixture in a jug with gin and lemons and stirred it round and put it on the hob to be simmer. Master Peter and the 2 young Cratchits went to fetch the goose, with which they soon returned in high procession.
Never was such a goose,
Bob said.
I don't believe there ever was such a goose cooked.
Its tenderness and flavor, size, and cheapness were the themes of universal admiration. Eked out with by applesauce and mashed potatoes, it was a sufficient dinner for the whole family. But now, the plates being changed, Mrs. Cratchit left the room alone, too nervous to bear witness, to take the pudding up and bring it in.
Suppose it should not be done enough. Suppose someone should break in, turning out. Suppose somebody should have got over the wall of the backyard while they were merry with the goose.
All sorts of horrors were supposed.
Hollow! A great steam! The pudding was out of the copper.
Oh, a wonderful pudding.
Bob Cratchit said, and calmly too, that he regarded it as the greatest success achieved by Mrs. Cratchit since their marriage. At last the dinner was all done, the cloth was cleared, the hearth swept, and the fire made up. The compound in the jug being tasted and considered perfect. Apples and oranges were put upon the table, and a shovelful of chestnuts on the fire. Then the Cratchit family drew around the hearth while chestnuts on the fire sputtered and crackled noisily. Then Bob proposed.
A Merry Christmas to us all, my dears. God bless us.
God bless us, everyone!
Said Tiny Tim. He sat very close to his father's side upon his little stool. Bob held his withered little hand in his, as if he loved the child and wished to keep him by his side, and dreaded that he might be taken from him. Spirit, tell me if Tiny Tim will live.
I see a vacant seat in the poor chimney corner, and a crutch without an owner, carefully preserved.
No, oh no, kind spirit, say he will be spared.
If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, none of my race will find him here. What then? If he be like to die, he had better do it, and decrease the surplus population.
Scrooge hung his head to hear his words quoted by the spirit, but raised it speedily on hearing his own name.
Mr. Scrooge,
said Bob.
I'll give you Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast.
Founder of the feast, indeed. I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast upon, and I'd hope he'd have a good appetite for it.
My dear, the children, Christmas Day.
It should be Christmas Day. I am sure on which one drinks the health of such an odious, stingy, hard, unfeeling man as Mr. Scrooge. You know he is, Robert. Nobody knows it better than you, poor fellow.
My dear, Christmas Day.
I'll drink his health for your sake, and the day's, not for his. Long life to him, a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. He will be very merry and very happy.
They were not a handsome family. They were not well dressed. Their shoes were far from being waterproof. Their clothes were scanty, but they were happy and grateful, pleased with another, and contented with the time. And when they faded and looked happier yet in the bright sprinklings of the spirit's torch at parting, Scrooge had his eyes upon them, and especially on Tiny Tim, until the last. It was a great surprise to Scrooge when the scene vanished to hear a hearty laugh. It was a much greater surprise to Scrooge to recognize it as his own nephew's, and to find himself at a bright, dry, gleaming room with the spirit standing smiling by his side and looking at the same nephew.
He said that Christmas was a humbug, as I live, and he believed it too.
More shame for him, Fred,
said Scrooge's niece.
He's a comical old fellow, that's the truth. Not so pleasant as he might be. However, his offenses carry their own punishment, and I have nothing to say against him. Who suffers by his ill whims? Himself, always. Here, he takes it in his head to dislike us, and he won't come to dinner with us. What's the consequence? He doesn't lose much of a dinner.
Indeed, I think he loses a very good dinner.
Everybody else said the same, because they had just had dinner. After tea, they had some music, for they were a musical family and knew what they were about, singing a glee or a catch. But they didn't devote the whole evening to music. After a while, they played at forfeits and blind man's bluff, for it is good to be children sometimes, and never better than at Christmas, when its mighty founder was a child himself. Oh, here's a new game, Spirit, said Scrooge. Only a half hour more. It was a game called Yes and No, where Scrooge's nephew had to think of something and the rest to find out, he only answering to their questions yes or no as the case was. The brisk fire of questioning to which he was exposed elicited from him that he was thinking of an animal, a live animal, a rather disagreeable animal, a savage animal, an animal that growled and grunted sometimes, and talked sometimes, and lived in London and walked about the streets and wasn't made a show of and wasn't led by anybody.
I have found it out. I know what it is, Fred. I know what it is.
What is it?
It's your uncle, Scrooge.
Which it certainly was. Admiration was the universal sentiment, though some objected that the reply to, "Is it a bear?" ought to have been yes.
Uncle Scrooge. He's given us plenty of merriment, I'm sure. A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to the old man, wherever he is. He wouldn't take it from me, but may he have it nevertheless. Uncle Scrooge.
Uncle Scrooge. Scrooge had become so gay and light of heart that he would have pledged the unconscious company in return and thanked them in an inaudible speech. But the whole scene passed off in a breath of the last words spoken by his nephew, and he and the spirit were again upon their travels. Much they saw, and far they went, and many homes they visited, but always with a happy end. Are spirits' lives so short?
My life upon this globe is very brief. It ends tonight.
Night? Forgive me if I am not justified in what I ask, but I see something strange and not belonging to yourself protruding from your skirts. Is it a foot or a claw? Look here. From the foldings of his robe, it brought two children, wretched, abject, frightful, hideous, miserable. They knelt down at its feet and clung upon the outside of the garment. They were a boy and a girl, yellow, meager, ragged, scowling, wolfish, but prostrate too in their humility. Scrooge stared back, appalled. Spirit, are they yours?
They are man's. The boy is ignorance. The girl is want. Beware them both in all of their degree.
Have they no refuge or resource?
Are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses?
The bell struck 12. All right. And hello, we did it. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Congratulations to everyone. Oh, we hope that you like that. Sorry about any technical mishaps. Welcome to us all learning about it. Just like Nicole said at the beginning, we're all still learning little by little. How was it? Did you like it? Magnolia, what'd you think?
I loved it.
You loved it? You did such a great job. Too. Oh, that's awesome. So we do have you back, actually, Nicole, in our next episode, which will premiere on Tuesday, which is so exciting. That Tuesday we kind of wrap everything up is what we'll end up doing, right, Kayleigh?
Yep, already. I can't believe it.
I know, Tuesday at 6:30. I can't believe that we're almost done with this tale. This is one of my favorites that we do every year, so I'm so excited we get to share it this way too. Nicole, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
I know, we were so excited to be able to do this. Will you come back again?
Yes, I would love to.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you all very, very much. Again, do check out Celebrate Shelton. Also, make sure that you do go to our donating to www.vsfestival.org. If you do, also you can subscribe to our podcast where you can listen to parts 1 and parts 2, so you kind of get what's going
Our
on.
other 4 episodes.
Yes, we're gonna have 4 episodes total, and we also have other episodes, right? Too. We're so excited. Thank you all for being here. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you for spending your Sunday night with us. Thank you, Magnolia. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. See you later.
Bye.